I stayed at Rangiora Eco Holiday Park for 2 weeks. The holiday park is located 28 kilometres from Christchurch Central and it's easy to get there via State Highway 71. The holiday park is on Lehman's Road opposite the racetrack. The lady at reception was friendly and took the time to show me 2 sites and allowed me to choose which of the 2 I wanted. It was winter time, so there were a couple of vacancies. Some parks provide a map for guests when they arrive, but this park does not provide a park map. However, I was grateful that she showed me to my site instead. It's fairly easy to find the communal facilities, such as the kitchen, bathrooms and laundry, as they're centrally located. Showers are free and there is no timer. The shower building is old but perfectly functional. Washing machines are $2 and take 2 $1 coins. If you don't have $1 coins on you, you can get some from reception. Dryers are only $2 for 50 minutes, which is the cheapest I've seen for a dryer at a campsite in New Zealand. The dryers take 1 $2 coin. There were only 2 dryers in the park though, so there was almost always a waiting line for them given the large number of guests in this park, and people would pile their clothes up to hold their place in line, which made the laundry room feel small and cluttered. Internet is not free. Most of the campsites I've stayed at in New Zealand, internet is not free, but they do offer options that guests can pay for depending on their internet needs. I use Wireless Nation as my internet provider, and the wireless coverage was really good in this location. There is a swimming pool and a kids' playground, but the pool was closed for winter. Recycling is available. There's a skip for cardboard and another for glass and cans. There's a dump station at the back of the campsite. At the time I stayed in winter this year, the rate was $20 per night for a single person in a caravan. They offered a special rate for New Zealand Motor Caravan Association members, so our Camp Saver rate for one person took the price down to $15 per night for the first week, but the special Camp Saver rate is limited to just 7 nights, which means New Zealand Motor Caravan Association members must pay the standard price after the 7 nights, so I had to pay $20 per night after my first week. My powered site had electricity, a fresh water tap and also a grey water drain that I was able to leave my grey water hose in so my showers could drain directly into the drain without me having to lug my heavy grey water roll away to the dump station at the back of the campsite. Most caravans in New Zealand do not offer a grey water drain on your site the way European caravan parks often do, so it's rare to find grey water drains on your caravan site like this. You can drink straight out of the fresh water tap without having to boil it first. Unfortunately, the sites are not marked out with the boundary lines, which meant visitors would sometimes park on my site in the car space that was allocated to me. Other caravanners told me they'd experienced the same thing where they'd gone to the supermarket and driven back to find someone had parked in their site. Having site boundaries prevents this problem as visitors otherwise just take the nearest space they see. The sites had privacy hedges at the back and mine also had a privacy hedge on the side, which meant I had privacy on 2 sides. Some campsites in New Zealand have no privacy hedges or fences on any of the sides, so this was quite a nice change. The hedges also meant I had some wind protection when a strong wind came through on the second night. The site was quite level, which meant I didn't have to worry about using levelling ramps. Pets, I saw plenty of people walking dogs, but you must ask permission first at the time you book if you're bringing a dog with you. Noise, Something that I found really annoying was the noisy small planes that constantly fly overhead, as there's a small airport just down the road, and on sunny days there are a lot of planes taking off. Other than the noisy planes, there were no parties at night, so the only other noise disturbance was a lot of yapping dogs. There was a small dog that aggressively barked every time someone walked past, and I found that a bit disruptive when I was working from home in my caravan. There's quite a few permanents there, and quite a few of them have little dogs in their yards. There's no traffic noise in that area and no trains or highways either, so there's no noise in that respect. There are a lot of potholes in the roads around the park, and the roads are narrow as well, so it's difficult to avoid those potholes. Deep potholes can damage your tyres, wheels and suspension, and it can damage the electrical wiring in your caravan as well, and even crack your skylights. So potholes should definitely be repaired immediately in holiday parks, so this was a little bit disappointing to see. Also, potholes are quite dangerous for people on bikes, so you need to be aware of that if you're taking your e-bike out for a bike ride. The communal kitchen roof was leaking badly when I was there, and the water was all over the floor and dripping on the electrical appliances, so I avoided using the kitchen after that in case I slipped on the puddles on the floor. This park has a really low score on Google reviews with a lot of negative comments, but most of the complaints are about the cleanliness of the cabins, so if you're staying in a caravan or motorhome, this won't actually affect you as you'll have your own bed and bathroom. It seems a lot of the negative reviews were written by welfare beneficiaries who were evicted from the park. Theft is definitely a problem in this park. On my first day there, a guy told me his food had been stolen out of the communal fridge. There are a lot of rough-looking people staying in this park, both short-termers and long-termers, and many welfare beneficiaries living there. Never leave anything unattended in this park, and don't use the communal fridge to store any expensive food such as meat or cheese, as food does seem to get stolen from the communal fridge. If you're not from New Zealand, just be aware that some holiday parks in New Zealand do have a large number of welfare beneficiaries living in them. New Zealand has a severe housing shortage, and most landlords refuse to rent houses to welfare beneficiaries or people with criminal backgrounds, so the government makes arrangements with local holiday parks to house them instead. Some holiday parks refuse the government's request to house welfare beneficiaries because they're concerned it'll put families off staying there, but other holiday parks are happy to accept anyone as long as it's guaranteed income. This is a holiday park that does accept welfare beneficiaries. Some of the guests I spoke with were open about their criminal convictions as well. I never felt unsafe when I was sleeping at night, but I did have a few near misses with theft. I was sitting in my caravan around midday when I saw a rough-looking man approach my car and started snooping through the windows. After that, I went out there and removed all valuable items out of my car and put them in my caravan. I do recommend you remove all of your belongings such as reversing cameras, dash cams, and other valuable items like power stations, solar panels and so forth, and keep those in your caravan with you when you're staying at this park. And don't leave e-bikes outside either. I use a piece of turf outside my caravan to keep mud out of the caravan, but I had this stolen when I left my site unattended. I'd driven to the local auto electrician to have my new lithium battery installed, and a man stole my turf after I left. At other holiday parks I've stayed at, I was able to leave my turf outside when I went to get repairs on my caravan and no one stole anything. But at this park, anything left unattended for an hour will likely be gone when you get back. A neighbour told me who took the turf, so I approached him and asked for it back, and I was met with a great deal of verbal abuse and swearing. He was a rough man living in a worn-out permanent caravan. He was full of the usual excuses, saying if he hadn't stolen it, then someone else at the park would have stolen it. I did stand my ground in spite of the verbal abuse and swearing, and I was able to retrieve the stolen item. I heard a lot of swearing in this park, so I'm not sure it's suitable for children and families, but it is fine for adults. There were no parties at night, so I was never kept awake at night, but the recycling bins were full of wine and beer bottles, so it does seem a lot of drinking goes on at this park. In terms of amenities in Rangiora, There are plenty of cafes and restaurants, as well as supermarkets and public parks, including the Northbrook wetlands, and I'll make a separate video about the Northbrook wetlands. I took a lot of photos of that. There is a friendly New World supermarket, and there's a warehouse if you need to buy homeware items, and Mitre 10 Mega for DIY items and repairs. The holiday park is also a short walk from the river.